Hey everyone, welcome to the latest installment of The Way It Is. A bit of a delay on this one, but well worth the wait. I am fortunate to have in person another guest. Lisa Henderson has joined us. And Lisa, this is kind of a bit of a double whammy in the sense that given it was International Women's Day on Tuesday, and Lisa is a designer. She actually has her own business called House of Three Blueprints. And House of Three prepares custom house plans for clients all over Canada and guides a client through the hurdles of zoning requirements, building permits, bringing them one step closer to the perfect new build. Lisa's past work history was as a professor of architectural technology and civil engineering at Loyalist College, and a former building inspector with the city of Kingston.
Yeah.
And I got to know her way back in the day when you were cutting your teeth at Green Homes doing their plans and designs way back when. So she is a member of MATO, I guess, however you want to pronounce that acronym, but it's the member of the Association of Architectural Technologists of Ontario. And she also has a certification, CBCO, which is an enhanced certification program to recognize professional excellence. So welcome, Lisa, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's go back and then move forward. So I alluded to that you started at Green Homes. What was your, I guess, background back then? What made you go into this sort of line of work? How did that happen?
I was extremely fortunate to start at Green Homes just as a new grad straight out of college. I'd worked for a design company while I was in college, but they closed about a month after graduation, unfortunately. So I was able to start at Green Homes, and I was there for about 10 years. They were a great company to learn, especially new homes from. Mm-hmm. So I think I added it up once, and I did roughly 1,000 houses for them before I left them, because we did roughly about 100 houses a year, sometimes more, sometimes less.
Yep.
And then I moved on to the city of Kingston and was a building inspector there.
Yeah, and so I guess that was a pretty natural progression, right? Or in building inspection, what was your line of work there? What was specifically were you responsible for in that capacity?
Yeah, it seemed like a natural progression at the time, so it seemed like a step up. It was a little bit different. Back then, things were done geographically, so I did a lot of housing in the West End. Learned a lot about commercial building at the same time. Was out on site, did site inspections, plans review. Back then, we did our own court cases. Anything that happened in your area, you were responsible for. Okay,
good. And so now the entrepreneur in you has come out, and yes. Now you're running basically your own company. So tell us about that. And are you by yourself? Do you have staff? Where are you at with that?
Yeah, so it started as a hobby business while I was at the city, doing plans for family members outside of the city limits. And it's progressed from there. So I am now full-time with staff. I have 2 part-time interns that work remotely, 1 full-time junior designer in the house, 1 intern designer in the house, another junior designer starting at the end of April, and an office manager and a marketing coordinator starting soon.
Wow.
So yes, it's been a busy couple of years.
No kidding. Well, and you know what? And so again, harkening back to Tuesday being International Women's Day, I one of the reasons we were thankful to have you here is I know Ben and I, in light of the celebration of International Women's Day, we were trying to find, because I'd heard on, I'm a CBC junkie, and I know that, employment-wise, 50% of women are in the workforce, but where they're really lacking is those skilled trades, in terms of carpenters, plumbers, electricians, and everything like that. So we just didn't have any success trying to find a candidate. Not that you're a poor second choice by any means, but I'd have to say probably this is a field similar in the sense that it's male dominated, is it not?
It is less than it used to be. When I was in college, out of a class of 100, 5 of us were female.
Wow.
When I was teaching a couple of years ago, it's about 50-50. So it has come a long way.
Well, that's excellent.
We still have some ways to go. I had to fight to not do ladders while pregnant with my little guy, and he's only 6. But sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
Ministry of Labor is fully supporting the pregnant workers, which is great news. But we are getting there. There is the odd female still out on a job site. It's getting better.
Yeah.
And right now is a great time for them to join. There is a program through St. Lawrence College. I want to say St. Lawrence Employment Services even.
Right. Okay.
Where right now you can be trained as a trade for free.
Wow.
Male or female, because of such a shortage of trades.
Trades, period. Yes. Yeah.
Which is a great incentive, I think, honestly, for anybody, male or female, to get into the industry, but especially for females that sometimes may have had backlash from parents about not spending the money to go to trade school. If you can go to trade school for free, it's not an issue.
Yeah, no, and I've said this from day one. Not everybody should be in university, and
No.
and you know Kingston very well. Like, are you from Kingston originally, Lisa? I can't remember.
I'm actually not. I'm from north of Belleville, but my parents actually grew up here. So J.R. Henderson was my grandfather. So very long time ago.
Yeah.
And my other set of grandparents owned the honey farm in Glen Burnie for Stevenson's.
Well, and you know as well as I know, working here in Kingston and in the field you're working in, there's a lot of successful tradespeople, electricians, plumbers that have successful businesses, and now they're in the same boat. They have no succession plan or no exit strategy because they can't find apprentices or anyone that wants to stay on to take on those roles and to run a business. I mean, it's one thing to learn a trade, it's another thing to be a business owner, right? An operator.
Yeah.
But I know all of them are still struggling to find qualified labor or qualified candidates to do the work. That's for sure.
I've been here for 21 years now. And really, Kingston's had one plateau in the real estate market, which is also the building market at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was a plateau. We've never really dived down. I'm sure you'd agree.
Yeah, no. Kingston's a really stable market.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Even the 2008 was not even a blip on our radar. And since 99, I track it back since 99, we've seen nothing but growth and nothing but good pricing and stuff. I mean, we had a bit of a balanced market, and now the pandemic, of course, is throwing all the rules out the window. and we're in this crazy situation we're in now. So let's talk about then, because when you came in, you were chatting with Holly upstairs. You run off your feet. So what's the demand like? Where is it coming from? Who are your clients? Where's that coming from?
So I'm one of the few licensed designers that it is not an architect, but a BCIN licensed designer that is qualified for large buildings. But having said that, they're not my favorite. So our main focus is custom homes and secondary suites. I do about 2 to 3 secondary suites a week, which is a lot between Belleville and Kingston. We do some in Ottawa, but not as much as we used to in the past. More Belleville, Kingston area. And Belleville has recently seen a real increase because the cost of housing is a little bit less there.
Yeah.
And there's actually a greater need for apartments.
Yes.
But a lot of designers won't touch the fire separations involved. And they've become a bit of a specialty. Really? But my background and my first love will always be custom homes.
Well, and for our audience out there, they know I've talked about it before. I mean, I do a lot of investment sales. I run a property management company. We have a lot of absentee owners, and I have one client in particular that he buys the places and does them specifically to convert to legal secondary suites. It costs more money, it does all the thing, but he just that's his model. That's what he wants to do. Now I know, obviously, given where things were when they first, because the cities announced that initiative, I want to say at least 5 years ago now, was it? Or
It was about a year before my son was born, so about 7 years ago.
So there, even
8,
longer.
Yeah.
And I dare say there was probably some growing pains and some bumps and jumps along the road. So how has that system progressed? Has it gotten any smoother or not, or is it still...
If you're an investor, buy in Belleville.
Really, eh? Yeah.
Belleville's an easier market to deal with, from parking all the way up. Having said that, we do pretty good here in Kingston still. It's but the rules do change from time to time, unfortunately, and without any notice. So sometimes, and it's not the building code. We can deal with the building code end of things. It's the zoning.
Yeah. Okay. And yet, I thought that pretty much the entire city of Kingston they were allowing the legal secondary suite application, were they not?
Yes and no. So although there is a mapping program online,
Yes.
there are red zones which do not permit secondary suites, period. But outside of those zones, the driveway has to work. We have to be able to accommodate the sidewalk, and there's no leeway.
Yeah.
If there is a tree that happens to be in the boulevard that is dying, until it dies, you cannot have your secondary suite.
Wow. Okay.
So it can be, and I'm not saying we should remove all the trees. Please don't take that wrong. But we can replace trees.
Absolutely. And I get what you're saying. I mean, I'm going to be careful how I phrase this because I used to own units that weren't legal because you know as well as I do, there's more illegal units in the city of Kingston than there are legal ones.
Correct.
I did start the process and I didn't finish it because what ended up happening, the fellow I just mentioned, I ended up selling the units to my client. And he took that on and went ahead and did that. But the hoops that he had to jump through in terms of the parking and then the access for emergency services, and then you can't have an AC unit blocking that, and all these, it's amazing the things that, and so I had Mayor Brian Patterson on here a couple of weeks ago, and in light of, you know, the talk around with the housing crisis and the you know, lack of affordable housing, lack of rental units, affordable rental units, you know, Dougie there, I call him Dougie Ford there, you know, has said we're cutting red tape. And yet here we are sitting today. When is that going to flow down? And we're going to see, and again, we want people to be safe. We want them to have good units and everything like that. But at some point in time, there's got to be a give, right?
Correct. Does every tenant have a car? No.
No.
Do we need parking for those tenants? Not really.
Right.
And at the cost of buying the house at this point in time, because you're not going to buy anything for less than $500,000.
Definitely not. Not even probably. You're going to say less than 600,000 now.
Yeah. You're not going to buy anything less than 500,000. The average unit is about $100,000 in construction costs, and so yes, the landlords can get good rent on these legal units. Legal.
Yep. Yep.
But the cost to do them.
Yeah.
You'd know better than I do the mortgage on a $600,000 investment, but you know, or 700, 800,000. You know, there's a huge cost.
There is, and I think that's where people take the path of least resistance, which is these illegal units that are popping up all over the place, right? And you know, and I, it's that catch-22. And I go back to the day I remember, so 7 years ago. The city had a information night or town hall, so if you will, and it was at the library off by the Cat Center there, Isabel Turner Library, whatever they call it that, and like they were caught off guard. I forget who it was. Del Stowe was there because he had just gone to Kingston, I think, from South Frontenac, if I'm not mistaken, or just a few years before.
He had been there for a long time, but he was probably just in a new position.
Okay, so but he was heading up. They threw this on his lap. I'm sure he was thrilled about that. And if Stephen Chu was there, anyway, you couldn't get in the joint because there were so many people there. The people were standing room only, wrapped around the place. They're all in shock going, we didn't realize that, we didn't think there'd be this much interest. And I'm going like, all of these people here have illegal units. Why do you think they're here? They want to find out if they can get them legalized and do it cost effectively or not, right? So the demand is there and the need is there, right?
The demand is there and the need is there. The more legal units there are on the market, the more the illegal units will be forced to put the proper fire separations in.
Yeah.
Right now, we have yet to meet the need for units. Once the need is met and we have a surplus of units, the illegal units will be forced to up the quality.
For those units, and I I'm sorry we're sticking on this, but this
No,
is...
that's okay. It's my specialty. It's
well,
fine.
and you know what? This is what we do, is
Yeah.
what I do, right? And then I know our audiences, I've got a lot of people that I hope that are listening that probably would get some good information from this. But a lot of the homes don't meet the height criteria either, right? Or is there a way around that now then and stuff? And because it used to be you had to be 50% above grade, right? In the lower level, or how are they getting around that?
So
now?
the 50% above grade is no longer an issue. That was the City of Kingston bylaw. So that requirement got dropped. There is a minimum ceiling height requirement though, typically 6'4" 3/4 inches from finished floor to underside of ceiling finished, but that's on 5 years old.
Okay.
So there's one set of rules for 5 years old or more, which most of them are.
Yeah.
There's another set of rules for new construction.
Right.
I don't know the number for the new construction off the top of my head, and I should, but generally speaking, what we're dealing with is 6'4" 3/4.
Yeah. Well, I find, and for a while there, some of the major builders, Carico, Virgil built some, they were commit with those legal secondary suites. I think...
Carico had it down pat when I was an inspector. Honestly, probably one of the best units on the market. And they were one of the first to take a hold of it.
Yeah.
And they tweaked them. So just from the standpoint, instead of using a beam so that there was a load headroom issue, they used a load-bearing wall. Yeah. They ran the fire separation continuously above the load-bearing wall. Like, they really had them down pat.
Yeah, yeah. I found, but in some instances in the beginning, they still didn't separate all the services, though. You still either had a shared water sewer service or you had a shared something or other. It didn't quite get all. I mean, again, it was new. They were going through growing pains themselves. But the problem with that now, Lisa, one of those places comes on the market now, they're pushing $850,000. And now the math doesn't even make sense anymore, which is kind of crazy and stuff like that. So
realistically, those are for people that want to be in that neighborhood that only need to live on one floor of their house.
Yeah, and have the income to help support the,
or want to have their family living downstairs, whether it's in-laws or whatever.
Right.
But having it be safe with the second kitchen.
Okay. Well, thank you for talking.
Sorry.
That was great. No, that was awesome. I'm going to circle back though to the custom home thing now. So you're busy. You got all these calls. So where are these people coming from? Because I know we're seeing a lot of migration from other centers, the GTA specifically. Are these people have their land? Tell me what's the demographic of your client base? What are they? Who are they?
They always have land, which is good. We really need the land because otherwise we could end up redesigning the house twice to meet setback requirements.
Right.
So they have a piece of land. They want to put a house on it. Some are local. Actually, a fair number are local that have bought a house or bought a piece of land somewhere, or they've been given a piece of land, or know a friend somehow have gotten this piece of land. And we've been able to do that. A couple local builders as well. That's been great. We get some from out of town that are moving from Toronto here because it is cheaper. Not much, but it is cheaper.
Yeah.
It's hit and miss. It's kind of all over the map still. Yeah. Because we are technically in South Frontenac, a lot of people contact me just because they're building in that area. And they don't necessarily understand the geographics of South Frontenac to Kingston.
Yes, yeah.
But a lot of cottage country too.
Wow. And that comes with its own layers of challenges and setbacks, and especially when you're dealing with shorelines and different municipalities and things like that, right? So
different conservation areas. It could be that this piece of waterfront land has nothing significant that conservation cares about, but next door there's some kind of significant animal or vegetation. Actually, that's actually happened a few times in that area that may be a consideration. It's hit and miss. We really have to work with all parties involved to try and decipher what's going on.
Do you get involved in the severance part of it if someone wants you to, or could you have that experience or that skill?
We don't. Okay. I now just sub that out to 2 planning companies that I deal with regularly to deal with that. Just from a timing perspective, we can't keep up with the work that we have to take on an extra job as a part of the same piece. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So I know back in the day, a designer, or because there were a lot of independents out there that were doing it, I'm sure still doing it. You charged on a per square foot basis or something like that. So if you
Yes.
don't mind divulging, what's that sort of industry average now, or what's the rate for something? For you, someone
Yeah.
calls you up and says, I have a custom home I need designed. What does that look like?
It varies. So for custom homes, we're usually about $1.50 a square foot now. Some people are going to be more, some are going to be less. We charge $1.50. Same for secondary suites. We charge $1.50 unless there's something structural that has to happen. Removing a beam or adding a beam, that type of thing, we charge more for because the liability goes up on that. Additions, we're $1.90 a square foot for. So it's that one we had to up because sometimes there is some surprises in there that you don't know until the walls open up.
Yeah, no, fair enough. That's always the case. It's easier to start from scratch than it is to take down what's there. That's
Very much. And sometimes, even with the secondary suites, we might be a little low on, but we tend to deal with a lot of the same people.
Right.
I have probably a handful we do 1 to 2 a month for. So we try to keep everybody happy.
Now, do you offer the service of taking the client through to the building permit process, the issuance of a building permit? Do you help with?
So we give them the building permit application form. With City of Kingston, it's actually all online. Same with City of Belleville, which is handy. South Frontenac, you still have to apply in person, but we give them the building permit application form and all the paperwork to go with it.
Right.
And then once they get a review letter, we answer any questions. If the contractors have questions, we answer those as well.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. What have I missed? What do you feel is top of mind, I guess, these days? Or given again, tying it into International Women's Day, your apprentices and stuff, are any of them female or?
Yes, actually, most of my staff is female.
Oh, awesome.
So we have 2 guys on staff. Brandon and Zach will be starting with us in April. And then everybody else is female. It just worked out that way. That's not always the case.
So if you took the program, and what program would you take if you wanted to enroll to do? Become a BCIN, I guess, because I used to deal with a chap who was a client that did. Now he's a home builder, actually, that was started as a BCIN.
Yeah.
So
I took the architectural technician program, at Loyalist College. You can start there. I've an intern from Algonquin, one from, oh my goodness, I took the course at Sheridan as well. There are multiple courses for the architectural technology, but the BCIN is actually separate from that.
Okay.
And you have to take that. It's actually a government-run program that happens to be offered through Humber and for the exams and George Brown for the courses.
Okay. So if you graduate from the architectural technologist program,
yes,
what's your next step? Who do you go to source employment, I guess? Who's hiring, or where would you go? I mean, apart from like a Green Homes or somebody like that, where? Yeah,
it's a wide variety. So you can flip houses. I've done that, as you and Holly both know. You could flip houses. You could help with a real estate office. You could do real estate photography, especially now with the iGuide having the floor plan involvement.
Yeah.
You could work for a builder. My husband actually graduated from the program, and he works for Oman's Glass as an estimator.
Okay, yeah.
He was a framer before that, so framing company, kitchen design, places like Bathworks.
Right. Okay.
It will never hurt you.
Yeah.
There is always a job in this industry. You just have to go looking for it. It might not be what you were thinking, but it's there.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And you know what? I think we'll end it there. That was a great sort of summary to what we've been talking about. And I thank you for being here. I thank you for shedding light on your field and your industry and being a successful entrepreneur and a female in that industry. So I applaud you for that. And thank you for being here, Lisa.
No problem. Thank you.